السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نفتتح الجلسة اليوم بمحاضرة لأمن الطيران وتبادل الخبرات مع إدارة أمن النقل الجوي، يلقيها السيد جيرارد بيكر. جيرارد بيكر انضم لإدارة أمن النقل البريطاني عام 1982، خبير في تطوير السياسات والإجراءات الخاصة بأنظمة الكشف عن المتفجرات، وكذلك بأنظمة الكشف على المسافرين اللي هي الماسحات الضوئية. خبير في السياسات والإجراءات الخاصة بحظر السوائل، وذلك بعد اكتشاف محاولة تفجير طائرة في المملكة المتحدة عام 2006 بواسطة المتفجرات السائلة. عمل كرئيس مفتش في مطار لندن وغلاسكو وعدد من المطارات البريطانية. فليتفضل السيد جيرارد بيكر.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am honoured to have been invited to speak to you today, and I am very glad to have this opportunity to say something about what the UK considers to be the key principles of an effective aviation security regime, and about how we believe the international community can come together in the face of the terrorist threat to international civil aviation. Firstly, I should say a few words about my role in the Middle East region. Representing the UK Department of Transport, I am based in Dubai as the Regional Aviation Security Liaison Officer. I am relatively new to this role, having recently taken over from the previous liaison officer, Rob Axworthy, who has been working hard for over 10 years on building mutual partnerships with host state governments in the development of measures to counter the various threats from terrorism. The sharing of our experience is a valuable method of learning from one another on how to best protect our aviation industries from attack. The UK aviation security regime has developed over time, and in the light of experience, some of that experience very painful. Our arrangements took much of their present shape following the tragic loss of Pan Am 103 over Lockerbie in Scotland in December 1988. And the deaths in that attack of 243 passengers and 16 crew. This provided the trigger for a wide-ranging review of UK policy and measures and led to a number of key developments. And like those of many other states, our arrangements have been further developed in light of the terrorist attack in the USA on the 11th of September 2001. The attacks of the 11th of September had characteristics not before seen. Their implications have not been ignored, and they have had led to some important enhancements in global aviation security. The attacks were on an unprecedented scale, nearly 3,000 people killed in the air and on the ground, and 4 aircraft destroyed with the use of aircraft as weapons. The use of aircraft as weapons on the 11th of September underlined the absolute importance of robust security across the whole of international civil aviation. We were, of course, left in no doubt as to this importance when the potentially devastating plot was foiled on the 10th of August 2006, involving 5 or more airlines with liquid explosives being used as weapons. More recently, of course, on the 25th of December 2009, a passenger on the Delta Airlines travelling from Amsterdam Schiphol Airport to Detroit in the USA attempted to detonate explosives secreted in his underwear. There is little doubt that a successful detonation over Detroit would have had fatal consequences for the aircraft, those on board, and probably many more people on the ground. The air services on which international trade and travel depend so crucially comprise above all the network. Many international borders, not least in this part of the world, of course, are only minutes away in flying time. This means that a vulnerability in one state's aviation security arrangements may be exploited by terrorists wishing to make an attack upon another state. I know that all of us here this week recognise the heavy responsibilities this places on all states to achieve the highest standard of aviation security. Recent incidents clearly obviate the need for a thorough screening of both passengers and their cabin baggage. Simply using metal detection equipment even if operated effectively, will not do the job to mitigate against the ever-increasing threat and innovative methods of attack, such as those used by Omar Farouk Abdul Muttalib, who attempted to bring down Northwest Airlines Flight 253 to Detroit, which was carrying 279 passengers and 11 crew. Metal detection is of little use in preventing attack methods of this nature. It is of crucial importance that we must all agree on the use of methods to detect plastics, liquids, carbon fibre and ceramics. In summary, all low and non-metallic threat items. The UK, for its part, seeks to achieve those standards whilst at the same time having measures which are proportionate to the threat and are sustainable, as well as practical and balanced towards the needs of the travelling public. These standards must reflect a good understanding of the operational realities in the aviation industry. Imposing measures which were not informed by those considerations and that sort of understanding would risk harming the industry. If we as regulators make travel in the air and transport of goods too difficult and too inconvenient, then we will have done the job of the terrorists for them. We must aim at a robust and sustainable security, not an easy balance to find, but nonetheless crucial. The UK, in partnership with other EU member states, pursues that goal through a close engagement with industry, including the key question of threat, vulnerability, risk management, and also by mandating, wherever possible, the objectives of these measures we need to see in place, rather than the fine detail of their precise design. The industry itself, we believe, is often best placed to consider how the measures can be most sensibly accommodated to its operating parameters. I should emphasise, however, that this does not imply any readiness in the part of the government as a regulator to accept any sort of watering down or compromise of standards of security needing to be met. Rather, it reflects a recognition that security objectives can sometimes be met in a number of alternative ways, and that makes good sense to work with industry to identify those which represent best fit with the effective operation of airport and airline services. So much for the key principles underpinning the UK approach domestically. We've always sought, in addition, to play a positive role internationally. It was the UK which brought the ICAO the lessons we saw in the Lockerbie attack of 1981, including the need for high standards of whole baggage screening and for robust passenger whole baggage reconciliation procedures. Those remain in place of the first importance today. The UK was also in the fore in arguing for a baseline of harmonised security across the European Union in the aftermath of the 11th of September. We were closely involved in the development of the regulation at the EU level, and as the regulation now comes under review, in light of experience of its application, we are again very much part that continues the debate and discussions. We engage actively at the international level because we recognise, as I was saying a moment ago, that because the threat is a global one, so must the solution be. It will be found in the steps we take together when in the multilateral fora such as ICAO, ACAC, ECAC, APEC, the EU or G8, or in our bilateral dealings together as partner states. The UK was closely involved in the development of the Amendment 11 of the ICAO Annex 17, which was adopted in July 2006. Amendment 11 represents, we consider, a very useful clarification of many of the annexed standards and recommended practices, and in some key areas, a sensible strengthening of the measures in the face of the threat as it is now understood. We have also recently been involved on Amendment 12, which again sets out to make security measures still more robust. We always look forward to working in ICAO for further development, of the security manual so that it can continue to provide the necessary support to ICAO states as they implement their responsibilities under the Annex. The UK has also worked in past months with ECAC, helping to give greater strategic direction to its aviation security programmes and to focus it on those areas where security audits have shown room for improvement in the effective implementation of measures. Significant work continues on the project known as Compliance 2010. Readiness to make changes that result in better security remains crucial. We have also led work with the G8 on aviation security, helping to devise best practice in areas where this seems most likely to be helpful. Finally, but certainly not least, amongst these international activities, the UK seeks to work at bilateral level with partner states around the world, sharing what we have learned and are learning from others. I emphasise learning from others. None of us here would pretend to have all the answers. The September 11th attacks were seen as having posed new questions about the defence of the flight deck and also about the role which might be played by air marshals in the overall aviation security regime. The November 2002 man-pads attack in Mombasa, Kenya, brought squarely in the front of us a very real new threat from potential attack and required us to think about how it's best countered. A UK team of specialists in the mitigation of threat to aviation for such weapons have made advisory visits to many countries in this region. This work continues in partnership with you and now includes the ability to provide specialist training for airport security forces. The UK advice and training builds on current UK operational procedures to counter the threat from standoff attack. The bombing of 2 civil airliners in one day in Russia in August 2004 underlined the importance of explosive screening, as does the advent of such things as all-plastic suicide vests. Blind faith in metal detection technology is dangerous. The advancement of new technology for effective screening of humans for body-worn IEDs and low and non-metallic threat items is moving at a fast pace. Methodologies available now have largely solved both the privacy issues and the perceived health risks. However, we must not forget that effective physical search will remain a key part of any body search regime. I would also urge colleagues to use any opportunity to observe new generation body scanners in operation to demystify many misconceptions about the invasion of privacy. This technology has come a very long way since the raw images that we once used to see. This is vital to all of us in the aviation industry that we realise the threat from terrorist attack of any kind remains very real. I speak from experience when I say that there are numerous states where the attitude appears to be, it will never happen here. Nothing could be further from the truth. The conference this week is allowing us to share our perspective on all of these challenges and on others too. The UK will continue to play its part to share what it has learned and to learn in our turn from the experience of others. The enterprise we are embarked upon could hardly be more important, and I congratulate the organisers on their initiative in bringing us all together this week to focus upon it. Real progress has been made over recent years in making civil aviation more secure, including through the work of many here and the organisations they represent. But the threat does not stand still, neither can we. Remember, the terrorist only needs to be lucky one day. We need to be lucky every day. Thank you very much.